So today I watched two films based on the same play, and most of you are probably familiar with the third film inspired by the same play. This is Chicago. So the original Chicago plays were by Maureen Dallas Watkins, who was a reporter in 1920 Chicago and based it on two uh, women who were tried for murder and exonerated. And she turned it into a social satire about the American legal system and the sensationalism of news. So this is from the 20s, yeah. So the original film is from 1927, about a year after the play was released. It's directed by Frank Urson and produced by Cecil B. DeMille, from a screenplay by Lenore Coffey. And in this version, Roxie Hart is played by Phyllis Haver, and Velma Kelly is played by Julia Fay. This movie is about, and Mae Robeson plays Mama Morton. It's really good. This movie is about 2 hours long, and it is very cynical. It's a dark, dark comedy. I really enjoyed it. It has probably the saddest ending of all of the versions of Chicago. It was recently restored by UCLA, and the print that's on Filmstruck is beautiful. Like one of the most beautiful silent film prints I've seen in quite a while. If you are a fan of this story, I definitely recommend checking this out. It was quite good. The next one that I watched was 1942's Roxie Hart. This one was directed by William A. Wellman and produced and written by Nunnally Johnson. I did not think it was that great. I don't think Wellman's a good comedy director. I think Ginger Rogers as Roxie Hart was almost too brassy. Like she reminds me of some of the girls she played in the earlier 30s films, like Turned to 11, but that's not a good thing. They also had to change the story a lot because of the production code. So Velma Kelly pretty much disappears. And the ending of this film is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, so bad. Like the production code basically lops children on everybody. It's just not good. And I'm like, I cringed. The ending made me cringe. I was cringing. I would rather her go to the gas chamber than like the ending that she got for Roxie Hart. That said, Adolph Menjou as Billy Flynn was fantastic. He is a good comedian no matter what. So he was the only thing I think that really worked in this film. They even had Spring Byington as Mary Sunshine, and I didn't think it was great. And I love Spring Byington. This was a rough movie to watch. There are moments where Rogers as Roxie really works, and there are moments where it's just not great. And there's some moments that are just flat out surreal. When she first shows up at the cell block, she like gets into a fight with one of her fellow inmates, and they play like actual cat fight sounds, like cats as they're fighting. And I was like, did you do this? Did you really do that right there? It was bad. It was not good. It was just really, really, really rough. So I think maybe if I hadn't watched them back to back, I might have liked Roxie Hart a little bit more. But I just don't think it's a very good film. I think it's interesting to watch all three of them. And they are all on Filmstruck right now. So you can do a Chicago 27, Roxie Hart 42, Chicago 2002 triple feature and just see all the different ways in which this story was told. But I just didn't think this was a very good film. And I think mostly because it was hindered by the production code, and Wellman is just not a good comedy director. He just didn't know how to tone it right. Both of these, like I said, all three of these films are actually on Filmstruck right now. They expire at the end of next week, I think, so you have a couple of weeks to watch them. This was 1927's Chicago and 1942's Roxie Hart. Some interesting adaptations of the Roxie Hart story.